Ashley, we know you're a strong follower of the NBA as well. NBA stories, all over the league. And I think we talked to you about this when the investigation first launched last November with Robert Sarver, the owner of the Phoenix Suns. We got the results of that investigation today. Sarver was fined $10 million. That's the maximum an owner can be fined. And he is suspended from league activity for 1 year. I said off the top, what did we really accomplish with this investigation?
Right.
Because and the penalty, because we learned all the things that Sarver's organization has been known for in the last 17 years, not the last 2 years, the last 17. And this is what the NBA comes up with. And he comes out in a statement, Sarver says, well, although I disagree with some of the conclusions of the NBA, I will take responsibility. No, if you disagree with it, you're not taking responsibility. You're not being accountable. What did you think when you saw this news break today?
It's interesting, especially given that this happened within the NBA, right? We always talk about how the NBA is so progressive and they're so ahead of the curve, and things that may, be okay in other sports, specifically the NFL, when we make that comparison, would never fly in the NBA. And then something like this happens and you kind of look at it like this goes against everything that the NBA claims that they stand for, that this league stands for, of what's allowed, what's not allowed. And it makes you wonder why. Why did it take so long? And with all of the records that you have going years back, this is not a 1 year situation. I remember when the situation happened with the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban, where he was accused of, some unfavorable workplace conduct. They did a full investigation, and that was only for a short window of time. This is almost 2 decades worth of accusations of just terrible workplace conduct and then some. And that's the best that you can come back with. It's odd coming from the NBA. If this was the NFL, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, well, that's the nature of the NFL. They kind of turn the other cheek, and anything to, put football first. And, that's not that surprising. But it definitely raises a couple of eyebrows and makes you look at the NBA a little bit sideways. And then when a statement like that comes out, it just goes to show that, a lot of owners feel like they're Teflon, and situations like this make you realize that they feel like that because a lot of them are.
Because they are. They looked at a lot of documents. They looked at a lot of emails. They talked to human resources. And Ashley, this is the one that just really got my attention. The investigation found that many employees didn't have allies, or they didn't have any confidentiality. They didn't have any rest when they went to human resources. So in other words, if you work for the Phoenix Suns and you see something that goes wrong, or you've been victimized by this horrible workplace culture, you can't go to human resources. One, human resources is not going to do anything. And two, human resources maybe is not going to keep your complaint, your legitimate
anonymous
complaint, private. I'm like, what? So that's on Sarver. All this stuff is on Sarver. They also said something in the report of, hey, Sarver himself never was racially insensitive. However, other people in his organization were. Well,
they say, what's that saying?
He fostered that environment, right?
Right. As an owner, they said that's saying you are who you hang out with. But taking it even, further, when you're an owner, when you're a CEO, when you're a president, you are a reflection of the people who work for you. So if they're working for you and you're hiring these people, one can go ahead and then conclude that they share similar mindsets, they share similar thought processes, they share similar beliefs and foundations and moral compasses. So while your hands may be quote unquote clean when it comes to actually doing the dirty work, it's really not, because you are the sole person who's responsible for bringing these people in and also letting these people go when they don't adhere to the narrative or the foundation in which you want to run your organization. So that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, that's kind of
That's
like
right.
ordering a hit on somebody and saying, oh, well, I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, but you ordered the hit. So, I
Right.
mean, you know what I mean? You're just as responsible. Yeah, your hands are clean with gunpowder, but you go ahead and you ask them to do it. That doesn't mean anything to me. And it's definitely, again, it goes back to with all the information, with all the reports, with all the paperwork from years and years and years that this was the ruling that the NBA came down with is definitely disappointing because this goes against everything that this league claims and proclaims rather to be.
Yep, surprising and disappointing from the NBA. But you are not disappointing, never. Ashley Nicole Moss, always great talking with you. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.